Happy Monday, guys. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. I hope everyone had a profitable weekend because I definitely didn't. But you know what? We had some great captains for the team. We got Alabama in the Final Four, as we've said for months. We've had them in our bracket. We've been all over that, so love to see that from us. Let's bring in the boys. Anyone have a better weekend betting than I did, Jake?
I mean, if you talk about eating 7 hot dogs in 7 innings, then
but yeah, I bet the under, so I lost. I got that. Yeah, I was
under 7.5.
Yeah,
I was trying to go for one more hot dog, so I got the 7.5 just to tie it. So this would be a push, but I couldn't muscle my way through. I didn't want to ruin the rest of my month.
Yeah, and I did. Did you say wife? Did we miss an event? But I also didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't know who the refs were about calling, spinning it back up and retaining and all that and what the rules were. So I took the weekend off.
Good.
I'm jealous.
Well, all right. Well, nonetheless, plenty to get through today, plenty of money to make tonight. We also have to go over some of these Final Four games. We might as well look and get some of the early value if we can. So let's take a look at the model here, Stephen. We'll start with Alabama, UConn, maybe. Not too much value across these games, but we might have a good wait and see moment here.
Yeah, I mean, there should hopefully be some interesting player props to be had, but we give Alabama a fighting chance. You know, they're I think they're steaming pretty much to as much as 12 plus 12 underdogs, but for the same reasons why we had them winning their region, we see this as a 7.5 point game. So maybe the first team to actually can stay with UConn for the entire game. Again, the high variance of 3-point shooting. You saw what is it, Mark Sears, who started like over 6 and then hit his next 5. So you can see how streaky they are. And then they got the bigs. I don't know if Grant Nelson or Pringle, but last 2 games, one of them has emerged with a much bigger game than expected.
Yeah, I was talking to my friends saying how Clemson would have no shot at beating UConn, but Alabama has a fighting shot of beating UConn. So if they won, they have a chance. And if Rylan Griffin and all these guys are hitting their threes, the way Sears is playing, like mini Jalen Brunson, he's lefty, looks like him shooting the ball. He's on fire right now. But if he drops 61, hopefully he wins. Unlike Jalen Brunson the other night.
And he has deep range. He has range like he's shooting NBA distance on a lot of his shots.
I mean, I remember Jalen Brunson won a national championship with Villanova, and he's one of these guards, lead guards. Him, I guess UConn has a similar situation with Tristan Newton, but they could take over games at times.
Yeah.
Derek mentioning the chat, this is one of the largest spreads in a Final Four game dating back to the 80s, and the steam is still on UConn here. So as the guys were saying, if you like Alabama to cover, which we definitely are more on that side, then this would be a wait and see. Maybe you can get a little bit bigger of a spread here before you act on that. Let's head over to the other game, NC State Purdue. Opposite situation here. The public is loving themselves some NC State.
Yeah, this is a weird one. NC State, I've seen 75, even 80% public. And then on Sportsline, the money split that we're receiving and publishing has 94% of the money on NC State. So the smart money, which is a very small percentage of 6% of people or dollars out there, are really on Purdue. And I think that's all the sports books saying that, look, if this game was a month ago or even 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, Purdue's probably a 19, 20-point favorite. But NC State, go on that run to win. Remember, this is a team that was plus 10,000 to win the ACC tournament. So this, the books are probably like eagerly anticipating making a killing on NC State, knowing that they're only offering 9.5 points when they, feel like it should be more like 18. Model likes NC State, so we're man of the people.
I remember, I think if you lose as a 1 seed to a 16 seed, it means the next year when you're winning the championship. Like Virginia lost to UMBC and they won the championship the next year.
Yeah,
and I think and Virginia was better the year that they lost. I guess DeAndre Hunter got hurt last year. Purdue, I mean, they had pretty much the same roster. They were a little younger. I think
they couldn't shoot threes last year.
Couldn't shoot threes. I think the biggest difference is Braden Smith.
That's the thing. They couldn't shoot threes last game, but Edie was so dominant. So if they got their bad 3-point shooting day out of the way, then it could be a long day for NC State. But model still has been fading Purdue. So the same model that bought you Alabama is also telling you Purdue wouldn't make it this far. So we'll see.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I was going to say I was on the NC State Duke over, which came down to a singular basket. Which was just
That counted. There were 92 points in the second half. That counts.
It almost pushed with the Jared McCain heave at
Yeah, that counts.
Anywho,
I'm giving you that.
Well, the books aren't. So the logic behind that was that NC State opponents have just been missing wide open threes, and I thought that they were going to actually start making their threes. Duke kind of looked like they were just missing some wide open shots too. Like, is the NC State? I feel like isn't covering the three ball very well, are they?
Yeah, I just I tweeted this that the best shooter by far on Duke is their coach, John Shire. So that's a problem.
Yeah,
I mean, Jared McCain's a great shooter, but they weren't giving him open looks. They weren't running plays for him. It was really a lot of that, I think, is on the coaching staff for not running plays for Jared McCain. And he's the hottest player on the team. They weren't getting him the ball. There was like 10 straight minutes where they went without running him a play. I saw someone tweet, which is pretty crazy considering he dropped over 30 points the game before, and he's by far the best shooter because there's really no 3-point shooting threats outside of McCain on that team.
You would have thought that's the one thing Shire would. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, that's the one thing I would have thought Shire would be great at, and not recruiting and the things he is great at.
All right. Well, throughout the week, we'll see some of this line movement start to come in. Maybe have some value on some player props throughout the week, but we got some time before these games. Just want to get a good early preview in here. Before we get to this nice NBA slate, pretty hefty NBA slate, we're going to talk about a little baseball here with Jake. Steven, I'll send you to the chat to answer any NBA
Should we
questions.
go back? Should we do NIT because we already have them, or we go?
Yeah. We're going to hit the NIT, Steven, with Indiana State playing Utah here. I believe my Georgia Bulldogs are still in this tournament, aren't they?
Georgia plays season well tonight. Yeah, the not invited tournament. Congrats on your championship of losers if you win. But there's no model value here in Indiana State, but I figure we have to play Indiana State because this might be our last opportunity. They're still our Cinderella in our hearts, so we gotta go.
I know.
Indiana State here.
That's what I was thinking when I saw you doing that there. I was like, oh, what could have been? What could have been? All right. We like Indiana State here in the NIT. Let's move on to some MLB here. We'll talk about the Orioles taking on the money line.
Yeah, so this is a game where the Orioles are coming off a loss where they got a ton of runners on base and they hit in the double plays like 3 different times yesterday, and they lost 4-1 after scoring a ton of runs the first 2 games of the season against the Angels. The Angels got outscored so badly the first 2 games that they called a players-only meeting or a team-only meeting 2 games in the season, which is pretty crazy.
That's criminal.
Kansas City's coming off their first win, so it's more I expect some regression from Kansas City after a big offensive game, and then I expect a bounce back from the Orioles after a bad offensive game. So I'm going with the Orioles. The best price is -152 on FanDuel.
All right.
I like over 4.5 runs. I like the team total. Okay. They've stranded so many runners on base yesterday that I don't mind that at all. What do we have Mountcastle for? We have him 1.5 total bases. So probably with the big, not much value unless it's at plus money. But let's see, don't hate the matchup against Waka. Waka's so hit or miss.
We got a Pirates Nationals game going on right now. Pirates lead 2-1, top of the 5th. Thoughts? I know
there? That was our first run first inning prop play of the year.
All right.
And we didn't hit it, but of course in the second inning there was 2 runs scored, and they had first and second with 1 out. It's in the first inning. There's some good contact. I still think it was the right play, but we'll keep on hammering more of those as the season goes on.
Yeah, that's my kind of MLB play for sure. All right, let's move back down here to the college level, going to college baseball. We got a over 14.5 runs for Utah Valley here.
Yeah, Utah is coming off of a weekend series against Stanford, so this is their fourth game in 4 days. So pitching isn't going to be necessarily deep, especially in their bullpen. Both of these teams are higher scoring teams. They actually opened at 13.5 and it was even money on the over at plus 100. And I'm surprised that opened at 13.5 and we had 16.2 runs in this game and quickly moved to 14.5 at minus 125. But I still think we have 16 runs. I could definitely see 10-8 game here. So I think the value is still there on the over here. I had to play some sort of college baseball bet today after a couple days off.
Got it. I see the chat talking about the Astros money line. Looks like we give them a 66% chance to win after they lost 5 in a row. Think you can get behind that?
Yeah, I didn't want to, but we have almost enough value for an A pick. We do have enough value for an A pick on the Astros, but they just don't look great. I mean, I think I had them in 2 of the 4 games against my Yankees. But then again, hedging my heart right there, it worked out perfectly for me. Betting against the Yankees, and the Yankees are 4-0. So, but I still think that there's good value on the Astros. I don't see them starting 0-5.
All right, fair enough. All right, that's a good amount of baseball, college basketball we got for the day. Let's head over to the association here. Bring back in Steven. We got a few games to get through. I already see some questions piling in, which is good to hear. We'll get to those as we go through the games. But first, let's take a look at Portland to Orlando. Orlando catching a lot of steam 16-point home favorites here. They're still playing with their heart a little bit. They're still looking to get a better playoff spot here, maybe get that 6th playoff spot instead of a play-in.
Yeah, one quick question there. We do like Gary Harris over half a turnover, assuming it's not juiced too highly. So the player I'm going with is Franz Wagner. 25.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and not too bad a price. The model's at 27.3. I like again that it's a fair price, and the line is a full over 3 points below his season average. Good overall season trend, but you can understand why the line's low as it is because it's bad last month of under 23, and the over is just 3-11. He's from 3-point line. He's ice cold, 4 for 36, his last 11. So I am going to use the logic that they got to get him out of his shooting slump. This is a great game to let him get his shots, let him get his runs, see the ball go to the basket a lot, hopefully, in a game that they should win easily.
Any thoughts on Wendell Carter? Yeah.
8.5. Yeah, we have 8.5 rebounds. So we had 10.5 rebounds and assists.
Nice. All right. Good to know there. Let's move on here. We'll go over to Brooklyn going to Indiana. Indiana catching a lot of steam as well here. But we're going back to Dennis Schroeder. How was he good to us last time?
Yes, he was. He had a great game scoring wise. So yeah, I trust him now. Now this morning I had 8.5 for rebounds and assists at plus money. It went up to 9.5 because Cam Johnson is out. And so our model projection went from 9.3 to 10.3. So we had the same adjustment as the betting lines. Fading the season trend, but again, it's with one of the key scorers on the team out, they'll need Schroeder to play a lot of minutes and to be on the court a lot, and just his time on court should hit this number. He had I like the fact that he had 5 straight double-digit rebound assist games, but he's coming off a bad game.
Yep, love a buy low spot.
Yeah.
I know, Jake, you're really triggering me with this Josh Giddey. I told Jake and Steven both on Sunday how easy this is supposed to be. And then I got too scared because I thought Josh Giddey PRA endpoints made way too much sense. So instead, I emotionally traumatized myself with the Duke NC State over instead of putting everything on Josh Giddey, who went over his point total and PRA, which was so absurdly low against the Knicks.
But we thought SJ would be out, right? Didn't you think SJ would be out, but then he wasn't?
He was questionable.
Even
then,
yeah.
I mean, he had a triple-double. I think he had 23 points, rebounds, and assists at halftime. And I was like, it's so easy.
I don't want you asking us our thoughts if you're gonna ding us every time we're wrong, because that's
exactly.
not
No.
conducive to.
No, you guys were right. I was just too. It all made sense. I was just too
Yeah.
scared to say the play that made
Ah.
too much sense. I'm
Ah.
spiraling myself here after this weekend.
Listen, your 92 points in the second half, I still say is an accurate projection. That over.
It was just a
That,
brutal weekend, guys.
yeah.
It was brutal. All right. We got Schroeder on this game. We'll head over to Boston, going to Charlotte. Another fat spread here. Boston 17-point road favorites. What do you think? What is Charlotte gonna do? Are they gonna try?
I don't think so, but I think individual players like Nick Richards hopefully will, because Richards was start of the year as a backup, to what was his name, Paul something or other. I shouldn't look this up now. Mark Williams, right? Mark Williams was the starter, but Richards has had a nice season statistically, so I think guys like him will keep trying. I'm on his over 10.5 points and assists. This was 9.5 earlier, so the model is at close to 11. Again, it's priced based on his lower average at home this season, but I still like the fact that it's a solid over for the season. He enters on a 16-7 over run, but he's coming off an under, sort of like the Schroeder thing, where he's playing well, putting up double digits, but just not his last game.
I like it.
Question.
All
Derek
right,
White?
game of the night.
Yeah.
Memphis going to Detroit. We could get one game closer, boys, to the team total or the win total over for our Detroit Pistons.
We need 2 more wins, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Quick answer to we do like Derek White over 14.5 points. Not a ton of model value, but we do lean over, so I go with it if you like it. This one, the model loves Memphis a lot more than anyone should. So I don't put, because they've done pretty well against the spread on the road, and Detroit's got a few players that are questionable, including Cade Cunningham and Sasser. They're 2 point guards. But I wouldn't put much stock in the Memphis model bet. The player I'm going to go with is Gigi Jackson. So the Desmond Bane is out. Aldama's a game time decision. There's Konchar's out. Vince Williams is out, or Konchar's a game time decision. So there's 3 players that may have in a different situation be a leading scorer from Memphis, besides Jaren Jackson Jr. And so, in recent cases, 6 straight games from March 10th to March 20th, and 6 straight games from February 4th to February 15th, when they were, without some of their leading perimeter scorers, Gigi Jackson would end up getting the big games. So you see these like stretches of ones, and then he goes back to the bench and doesn't get many shots when mostly Desmond Bane is playing. So at 15.5 is kind of priced right in between his average when everyone's playing versus his average when a lot of people are out. So
who would be the most? Who are the most? So Bane and Williams are definitely out.
Yeah,
and then the other 2 guys.
Aldama's a 3-point shooting. Yeah, Aldama's a 3-point shooting, a perimeter shooting. Big. So I just think that they need, and the only one who's going to score, Scottie Pippen Jr. is a famous father and a good defensive player, but he's like a high percentage 3-point shooter, but he's not a high volume guy. So I just think Gigi Jackson's the guy. We're projecting him for over 6 3-point attempts. And you can see, again, I'm sorry, this is screwy, but you can see a lot of high volume of 3-point attempts when given the chance.
Love to see it. All we want is attempts. That's all we're looking for. All right. We're going back to our boy in Chicago. Atlanta head to Chicago here. Chicago also hopefully should be playing 4 hard quarters of basketball here. They're looking for a play-in spot, potentially a 9 seed here, which would be a lot better for them. But Alex Caruso, we were all over him at the right time earlier in the season, getting those sneaky plus money plays, and it felt like America joined us, juiced that line down a little bit, but now we're getting back up there, close to even money.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of 3.5s for a long stretch there, right? 3.5s at not even plus money for a good stretch when he was young Andre Kirilenko blocking shots like crazy. You see the stretches back in January where he was just a lock to get 3+ blocks and steals. Recently, he has not been a shot blocking machine, which is what you'd expect looking at him. But he's a guy who averages 1 block a game this season, but he only had 4 blocks his last 10 games. So I think he's due. He's due for a couple. But he had 5 steals his last game. So I like the fact that, again, plus money on a line that's under his average.
Mm-hmm. What's Atlanta's profile in general? Do you know anything about if they're a turnover-prone team at all?
They're not
The answer
because
is no.
DeJounte Murray. Yeah, DeJounte Murray takes care of the ball better than when Trae Young is out there. So without Trae, they're actually better in turnovers. So these teams are competing for the last 9-10 play-in spots, and they don't want to. They'd rather have home court advantage.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got some questions in the chat about there is some big women's college basketball going on. Contrary to probably popular belief, I don't really follow women's basketball that much. I do, however, believe that Caitlin Clark, from what I know, is more equipped around her than they were last year when she played LSU. So I would think that Iowa has a lot better chance this year than they did last year when it was really only Caitlin Clark against a 5-man team. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't really have much opinion on it, but I appreciate
I don't.
you guys
I don't like to pretend. I don't like to pretend that I do either. But I will go with Angel Reese because she's from Baltimore.
There you go. I know. I guess I should be a bigger advocate for women's basketball here, but I just haven't gotten around to it. WNBA, though, catch me in the summer, giving you locks on the 12 teams, the WNBA. All right. Back to the association. We will go to the last game of the night. Phoenix headed to New Orleans. Seen a lot of people like this under. New Orleans' first half spread always also seems to be a pretty good lock here, but same with Phoenix, so I don't really know. But we'll go to a player prop we have some value on.
Yeah, this is an interesting game because it looked like New Orleans opened as a slight favorite. And early this morning, Phoenix had been up to a 1.5 point favorite most, and now it's back down to New Orleans. I guess Brandon Ingram's absence isn't that a big a deal with, with Herb Jones and Trey Murphy playing well, playing okay, I guess in spots. I'm going to go with Nurkic over 8.5 points. It's well under his season average of 11.2. Yeah, he averages less on the road, but that's still over 8.5. The big thing about Nurkic is recently he has not been scoring a lot of points, and especially his last few games because he's been coming back from an ankle injury, and I think that he should be over that, and so that's why the line's depressed. Also think the key to beating the Pelicans is the beating on the boards. New Orleans is a weird team where they can just kill you or get killed. It's rarely a close game with them. It seems like, 12-point loss, 7-7. It's just eyeing their game log. You just don't see any margins that are within double digits rarely. The closest one is a 7-point game versus Milwaukee. And that was a game where they were underdogs. So it was very different than they expected. And the difference is this rebounding margin where they go from -10 to out rebounding to Milwaukee to getting out rebounded by OKC, a bad rebound team. It's just like that. So I think that Phoenix will know that they'll need Nurkic's size to get the boards. And then just by being there on the court, hopefully he'll get his normal average or even below average, but still go over 8.5.
What are his minutes been looking like the past few games?
That's why his injury to his ankle. So he had 23 in his last game, only took 4 shots, 19, missed a game in between, 22. So I'm hoping he goes back to this stretch where he was 30 minutes, right. 30 minutes, 30 minutes. He had these monster rebounding games, the key. So with him getting these back-to-back 20 rebound games, it's like, okay, we need this guy to get there, to take care of the boards while the other dudes are and he'll just hopefully just on offensive rebounds alone and a few easy putbacks will get us 9.
Yeah, we've definitely had some success on picking the right game where players come back to full minutes and full production here. A few questions on this game. Devin Booker, his points line at 25.5.
We have right around that same number, 25.3. So, but could be an overtime here, with such a close game.
This is true. I see a question about Grayson Allen over 2.5 assists. Looks like we have him for 2.8 here, so not disagreeing. Yeah. Could be a good spot for him. I can't tell what the pace of this game is going to be.
The model leans under. Phoenix has played some good games, but lower scoring games. They beat Denver twice recently, and both were kind of low scoring. They laid an egg at OKC, gave up a ton of points, but they themselves didn't score a lot of points. So they've only scored 103, 104, and 102 their last 3 games. And New Orleans is a good home defense, I believe. Sorry, my screen's a little funky right now. New Orleans, they've actually allowed more points at home than on the road, but overall they're a decent defensive points allowed. And they've held 4 of their last 5 opponents to 104 or less.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, both
Okay.
teams gave a bunch of points to OKC recently.
I know.
And Giddey,
They're both
the guy who you didn't have faith in.
Yeah.
It always comes back to Giddey and not having faith.
It always comes back to Giddey. Everything. Speaking of OKC, they play tomorrow, playing the Sixers, and Joel Embiid will be back. So it could be an interesting spot. I don't know if I'll be right to touch it up, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Giddey.
All right, let's take a look
It'll be
at the
interesting.
recaps. Great. It will be. All right, we got a couple NBA props for you guys per usual. Bunch of overs because we're not losers. Baseball, we got Utah Valley over 14.5. The Orioles, we got college basketball, a little NIT. I might have to throw some money on. Oh, Derek told me Joel Embiid is now out for tomorrow.
Shocker.
Too soon.
Yeah.
Shocker. Tyrese Maxey
Hey,
in
our one under recently did hit that Dylan Brooks under hit, and it scared me because he had 8 points and rebounds in the first 6 minutes, I believe. He hit he scored the team's first 6 points, and he grabbed 2 rebounds, and then he didn't do. I don't know if he got hurt or what, but he didn't do anything after that fast start.
Sounds like Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. All right, well, tomorrow we'll have more NBA. We'll have more baseball as well. We take a little break from talking about this March Madness stuff, but we'll definitely hack away at some player props and some ways to find values in this game. I might be coming up with a big hoss parlay with all the big fellas down low. See if we can get a good number on that. But any other questions, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter. Tell everyone you know to tune in if they're into the NBA and all this good stuff. So good luck with your bets tonight, and we will see you guys tomorrow.